Welcome back to Incremental, the Continuous Improvement Podcast. This is episode 137, and this is our practice edition where we talk about improvements we made throughout the week and tie them back to lean principles. I'm Uriel Eisen of Austere Manufacturing and ARDA.
And I'm Devin Bedoni of Like and Precision, and our quote, "A corporation is a living organism. It has to continue to shed its skin. Methods have to change, focus has to change, values have to change. The sum total of those changes is transformation." From Andrew Grove.
I like that a lot. I think it's sort of similar to the quote I feel like we've read, which is like, you know, if you're trying, I forget what it is. It's from Shigeo Shingo. He's like, you can't do things the way you've always done them if you want them to change.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's like, right, yeah. But it's nice to just shine a light on that. Change is painful and time consuming, and it is so tempting. I have this with my tool paths. It's so tempting to just be like, you know what? It doesn't run, so let's just leave well enough alone.
Yeah.
But at some point, you're going to tip over from being well enough to not well enough, and someone else is eating your lunch, and at that point, you've lost. Instead of like,
I think it's really
staying
important.
Ahead.
Yeah, I think it's really important to keep in mind too, because I think especially, you know, as folks who started small businesses and are always will be going through like the chaos, like there's such a strong drive to try and achieve stability and consistency.
That's a great point.
And I think it's really easy once you get like just even a little taste of stability and consistency to just be like, okay, don't touch anything.
That's so true. And that's when you sort of start to lose your edge unless you empower everyone to continuously change.
I think so.
That's a great point. That is the goal. And maybe the goal to replace it with is stability of process.
Yeah.
Even the process of making changes, right?
Sure.
Because then you can have a regular cadence and everyone can feel like there's a system and we know what to expect. Because running around with your hair on fire is exciting, to be sure.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's not fun. I think also like as an employee, I don't think it's quite as intense, right? Like
God willing. Yeah.
Not that it's fun, but I think as an employee, like I think this drive towards stability and consistency is bigger for a business owner who feels like a bit responsible, hopefully, at the end of the day.
Right.
Whereas like an employee can be like, man, this sucks, but I get to go home at the end of the day, or I can quit and go do a different job where they don't suck as bad, or whatever the case may be. So I think it's a little easier to not take that like imperative so seriously to improve and change. Anyhow.
Yeah.
Random.
Change is in the air. On that note, we've started building out the new shop space, which is exciting and expensive as well. It's very funny. I remember being on the other side of the table. Well, I was actually on the same side of the table, but metaphorically, of like telling you to not move.
Right.
And it feels...
You mean to not move immediately when we rented our space?
Yeah, like I rented this shop a month ago.
Yeah.
And the time, though expensive, it's better to take time to make the move because the move is only downside in the short term.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like the more we can do to prep the space, get a good sense of how we want to run things, how we want to move in.
Yeah.
Like the more time we take, the less money we'll lose on the move.
Yeah.
But it feels like, okay, well, we're paying for this space. Like, let's go. Let's get moved in.
Yeah. And the rent check is like a clearly visible.
Yeah. Like a slap in the face once per month. It'd be like, why aren't you in here yet? Right.
But your lost revenue, you'll just never see it. And so it's easier to ignore.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's good. We got we're building out some enclosed space so we can be in a thermally regulated environment, which lesson learned from our current space, which we also insulated ourselves. Yeah. One day we'll know we're succeeding when we move into a spot that is
climate controlled.
Yeah. Maybe or not. I mean, doing things yourself is fine.
Yeah.
has a cost, but it's lower than what we would like. We looked pretty extensively.
Yeah.
And kind of did a bit of a price compare, and this is pretty good.
Yeah. Right on.
Improvements?
Let's see. This is a cheap improvement. Not cheap, but like it doesn't really count. We ordered a bamboo printer, and it arrived.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we had a Prusa for the last year.
Yep.
It's been mostly working. It is slow, and then something broke. We tried to fix it. It didn't fix, and we were like, dang it, we actually need some of these things. Like,
yeah.
We're short on, we've been adding a lot of tool holders, so we're like short on tool holder tags.
Oh, yeah.
And we need to print them. And
right.
we're like, damn it. So I happened to be listening to Within Tolerance that day, and Dylan mentioned that they were on sale, and I was standing next to a computer and looked it up, and I was like, so they are.
Nice.
And so I ordered it. And so far, it's been great.
That's awesome. Yeah. One thing I'll mention, which is, I forget if I mentioned it last time, but we added a file column, which we can add to yours. It's not in your Arda. So you can put the pre-sliced file on the card.
Oh, yeah.
So then you just scan it, download it, and open it, and it's I don't know. It's just like takes all the pain out of.
That's sweet.
Being like, where's that stupid file? It should be in here somewhere. Anyway, so that's been big for me.
Yeah.
All right. So we updated our pre-onsite install checklist to include more PFEP info.
This is Arda.
We're doing another on-site install for a company, and just took the opportunity to improve. When every on-site we've done like a post-mortem to like, what could we do better? What do we wish the customer had done ahead of time that would have saved us all a lot of time and made us more efficient? And so just integrating some things into there. This one, PFEP, plan for every part. An issue we ran into doing these installs, which is, I guess, just, relevant to anyone who's trying to get organized, is though this sounds kind of dumb and in the weeds, like the physical size of every item you're trying to store and the considerations of like what pack size does it come in, and then can that fit on the shelf, and do we have a bin that this will comfortably sit in? You can lose a lot of time like doing that. Like when we did the install in your shop, I remember like two issues. One was the big like not shrink film, but like the pallet wrap.
Oh yeah.
And we didn't have any sort of bin that we could drop that in. And I think the other one was like the big rolls, we just didn't have a plan for them. And so we made something work, but it's not great.
Yeah.
And we ran into that problem at another company where luckily they just happened to have ordered a bunch of bins. And so we kind of like cut out cardboard dividers to divide the bins up. And like, it's just like, it would be better to have a good sense of like, okay, they have a bunch of electrical components, which are kind of these sizes. They come in bags of 500.
Yeah.
Then we're going to, anyway, so we added that.
So does that mean the customer has to give you a list prior for what they want to integrate?
If they want to, right? But like we send them this checklist and then we're going to do a tour. And if the last implementation we did, they had a pretty good spreadsheet of things they had ordered in the past. And so we were able to just get a lot of that work done, where we just went through it, had to look at like, where are the price breaks? How much do they use, et cetera, and pick those minimums and stuff like that. So
nice. Right on.
If they don't, we're just going to show up and do it, and maybe that's why they're hiring us, right? Which is fine. But if they already have the stuff, it's way easier for us to know ahead of time.
Sure. How long are your on sites usually?
We try to do 4 days.
Okay.
They tend to be really, really long days just because, I don't know, we just want to get a lot done.
But I guess like worst comes to worst, you can always be like, have some cards for your typical like bins and stuff, and you show up the first day, you're like, this stuff's not here, we'll have it here tomorrow from Amazon or whatever the case may be. Yeah.
And actually on that topic, curious your feedback on this, we added more items. We have like if you go into like getting started with Arda, which is in your product, I'm pretty sure, you can go to recommended items, and we used to just have like not random, but like we were just like, oh, well, everyone needs pens. Here's pens, right? And here's Sharpies, and here's this and that. And it was kind of like, I finally went and tried to use it, and I was like, well, I don't know which pens you picked out, so like I'm not just gonna randomly add these right? And so we realize it has to be stuff that is that we have an opinion on. Like all of the Arda implementation stuff, we've actually looked around a good deal for lamination pouches and ones that are cheap but good. So it's like, here's that link. Like you don't need to go redo it.
Yeah.
All that stuff. But
You're
then,
being Costco, basically.
A little bit, right? Yeah. It's like, yeah, we did the research. This is the one to get.
Yeah.
But if we're like, hey, buy these shelves, you're like, well, they won't fit in my shop, and we like these other shelves, which we already own a lot of, so it doesn't really make sense for us to recommend.
Yeah.
But then we were looking at other stuff where we could save people time, and one of the ones we added, which might be of interest, is we added a lot of the bamboo items. Oh. So we just went through, because they're a walled garden. If you're ordering bamboo stuff, you're ordering it off their website.
Yep.
So we're just like, well, those items, you're not going to be like, well, maybe I'll source my own. Right? It's like, so like all the consumables we added. Oh. And so you can and now what we did, which curious in your thoughts on this, instead of the button being like, add this to my Arda, the button is add this to my Arda and add it to my cart. Cause my feeling was you would be shopping at that point, right? You're like, well, I need these things. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway.
That makes sense.
Some improvements there.
Yeah, we actually spent someone, not me, spent a decent amount of time yesterday putting bamboo stuff into Arda.
So. Oh, well, there's probably stuff in there that you haven't added yet, but maybe not. Yeah. And the one thing in hearing you say that doesn't exist yet, and this is something I would love, is like, I find my workflow in Arda when I'm adding a part is often like searching Arda to see if I already put something like that in there and then adding one. Yeah. Instead of like, when you're typing in Google and it's like, live searching. Yeah. That's what I want. I want it to be like this, and you're like, no, this is a new one. And you're like, okay. Yeah. Anyway, but we'll get there.
Nice. Will did a little update to our cam template so initially when I built it up, I was not very good at Fusion. And I made a parameterized template. So you can like adjust soft jaw spacing and stuff. Yeah. With parameters in a table, but because of the way I jointed it and stuff, if you like rotated the soft jaws, everything went whack. So it's non-functional, basically. So you had to like kind of do some mental gymnastics or import more jaws and stuff. So we'll fix that so that now you can adjust the op2 soft jaw to any angle relative to the part.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it actually works. So that's
Have you watched Phil's updated container method?
Most of it, yes.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
So cool.
It is, yes.
Very cool. I haven't
Me neither.
Done it yet.
I talked with Matt Blackwell.
Yeah.
I think he said it took him about 10 hours.
Yeah. That feels
to build out.
Optimistic for me.
Yeah, same.
Like, I think I could do 10 hours for one type of workflow. Or something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
And then it would be like, okay, the next one. But I think a lot of the concepts and a lot of the things that they kind of cracked to make that possible would be really good tools in the tool belt.
Yeah. I think we're going to do something. We may hire it out to somebody else, maybe to Matt. And whether we go whole hog or just try and integrate some of those
partial hog
principles. Yeah. Just the hindquarters.
Nice.
I'm not sure yet.
Yeah. You could take like an incremental approach.
Perhaps. Yeah. Anyway, that was a big step.
Anyway, nice. That's very cool. We are starting to build out an Amazon integration for Arda.
Nice.
To pull in, so you would add a link and then it would pull in like the image, the title, the pack size, that kind of stuff. So you're just doing less typing.
Just a data entry reduction, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Like how cool would it be if any page you were on, there was a Chrome plugin where you could be like, add this to my Arda, right?
That would be cool.
That'd be reduce the friction just a little more. So we hopefully can do that. But right now we're just sort of like piecemeal. Yeah. And it's easier for us than writing a Chrome extension. I mean, we are trying to work on that, but just testing like what the API delivers from Amazon. So we ran a test and got it mostly works. It's about basically they pass you, my understanding, I'm not doing it myself. My understanding is they pass you like a long string of characters. And it's all a standard format, etc. But you have to figure out how to parse it. Yeah. Which anyway, so
interesting.
That is exciting so far.
Oh yeah. So we reorganized our tool cabinets, rearranged them. So,
just like their physical location, or how stuff is inside.
Yeah, we actually kind of both. We rearranged their location, orientation, and our tool rack. So we have like a whole new tool setup, building
crib,
tool crib. Yeah. And as part of that, reorganized all the tools. So like you were at our shop when we first started this new tool identification scheme. Like we had a few, the cabinet had a bunch of different stuff in there at one point.
Okay.
So it was like tools for the top 2 drawers. Then it was like random work holding stuff.
Right.
Blah, 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 blah. And as we started going through it, the person who was working on it at the time just kind of was like, oh, we're out of numbers. I'll guess I'll go to this drawer. And so it wasn't fully sequential, like top to bottom. Like within a drawer, it would be sequential left to right. Mm-hmm. But then you maybe have to go for the next number, you're 2 drawers up and then 3 drawers down.
Oh, yikes.
It was not ideal.
I mean, yeah. See how you'd arrive there. Then at some point.
Yeah, it was like clearly we saw how this happened. And at the time we were like, this.
It's much better than our zero system
we're
currently.
We're just going to go with this for now.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so we had ordered another tool cabinet recently, but hadn't started using it. And 2 weeks ago, just did a big push and got it all rearranged, sequential, and kind of roughly divided into milling tools in one cabinet, drilling, tapping, etc., in another cabinet, just based on how their numbers fall.
Super cool.
Yeah, it was a big improvement.
Nice. What led to it? Just it was on the list for a while, or
it's been on the list for a while,
okay.
And then Robin, my wife, started with us and
was like, "What is going on here?"
I was more like, "What can I do?" And it happened to be like a couple days where like Ariel and Will and I were all like deep involved in like programming and running out parts, and I was like, make that happen better.
Nice.
So yeah, it was cool.
Excellent. I had recorded a video for a company in SoCal for how to print to a Brother label printer from Arda, and just like a specific layout that fit well. We had another company that wanted to use the same printer, so I sent it to them, but then in doing that I was like, wait a second, this feels like everyone should have it. So we added the video embedded in the getting started with Arda in the printing section.
Nice.
Just a little improvement.
Right on. Another cam template update that Will made. So like root cause analysis, like the issue we've been having is and getting into machining weeds for a second.
Yep.
On our M300, we've talked about this a little bit. At A90, the reach to center line from the spindle max Z negative is very long. Yeah. So we bought a bunch of longer holders. Yeah. Solved it. Except our cam template has been built where like stock's on center line with the op1 vise. Yeah. And then the jaws are on center line for op2 with the op1 vise. And if you have a part that has a lot of asymmetry, that means that the asymmetrical part of that part gets pushed way to one side because the part is still on center line in op2. And so you end up like this last week we were making basically like a big L bracket. Okay. And it had like a 2-inch offset. So when it was flipped the one way, we had the A-axis center line length plus an additional 2 inches to reach that side of the L. And it was just like a nightmare.
And that was your op2?
That was op2.
Oh, fascinating. Yeah. Okay. So you wanted to bring the vertical leg of that L to center line. Yeah. And in CAM, the way to do that is to actually push this op2 vise off center line.
Yes.
Okay.
So Will updated our CAM templates with parameterized XY shift for those jaws. So now we can say that it'll default to center line, but we can say, okay, actually this part's super wacky. We want to like push it way to one side so that we have access here or there. Nice. Again, another thing that I just like did the quick and dirty get it going solution originally, and now he's refining it.
And that is definitely the way to go, as far as I can tell, because years ago I built okay, let me think about all the ways I would want to play with this model. I built the container method when I first got the CNC.
Yeah.
And I built it. It was so complicated with features I did not need, and very quickly went I don't remember.
Yeah.
And now it's exploding and I can't just drag it to do what right. It was all the complexity with none of the payoff. So I think the incremental approach.
The funny thing was, it was so outside my mental capacity to even think about that as a solution.
Yeah.
I got super frustrated and I ordered $4,000 worth of extra long holders.
extra long.
extra long.
That's funny.
And then I went over and I was like, well, can we fix this? Because this would solve all of our problems.
Do you think those extra long holders will be useful? Or?
I think they will still come in handy. No, it wasn't all 4,000 of that was not all extra long, but
there was some
solid more than 1,000 was.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know if this needs more beating, but the improvement part of the whole Kanban thing from last episode.
Yeah.
Is I printed out some new Kanban holders.
Okay.
That are right now they hold 4 Kanbans vertically, and I just increased the spacing so that at a glance you can tell which one is.
Oh, so you made the grid. It's in practice.
Oh yeah, the grid was made instantly by Sam in E-tape on the side of the machine with magnets.
Oh, nice.
We resolved some issues there.
Yeah.
Based on our last conversation, we're still going to run the experiment.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is just a physical version of that to make it a little easier.
Cool.
A little more standardized. Yeah.
Nice. Another improvement. So now that we have the bamboo, we had our little setup cart pucks that the tool holders sit in. And indicate status of a pocket.
Mm-hmm.
They were red and green.
Yep.
And initially he'd made, because we did not have a color changing printer.
Right.
We would print a bunch of them red and then print a bunch of them green, and they had a kind of castle interlock to clip together. But so he just updated that print to be a 2-color print now. So just rocks and rolls on the bamboo, and they come out done. No assembly.
Delightful.
No switchover, etc.
Interesting. That's cool. Let's see. Yes, just at the mezzanine. I talked about this at the beginning. We set up most of the mezzanine in the new shop.
Nice.
Figuring out the insulation scheme for that. The ceiling, the walls. It's all very expensive.
Turns out you need it. The walls and the ceiling.
Yeah, all of them. And a few ways of doing it. Some are more expensive. Some take more time.
Yeah.
Some deliver more R value. And around we go. Yeah. No, I spreadsheeted a lot of it out, and that was helpful to actually just put numbers, because I was kind of imagining them all. And the walls are still a question mark for me.
That's one of those things too. Building structures are, I think people often forget to spreadsheet, but it's all just square footage math.
Yeah.
It's very straightforward to do.
Yeah. And when I first did it, I didn't build it by square footage units. I sort of backed into it, but at some point I was like, oh, this should all just be by square foot. And then at the end, my last operation is multiplying by square footage.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. But it's a big structure. So building the walls, I need to, one side of it is 40 feet long.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know. Most of the stuff I've built has been smaller. So your multiple is much lower. So you're like, oh, this piece of lumber is $5. Great.
Yeah.
This won't be too bad. And now it's $5. It's a lot of money. Anyway.
$5 times
a lot.
90.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So most of my staff is out this week, taking the week off for the holiday. And so we're doing some preventative maintenance or just general maintenance stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing is we've been pretty lazy about machine parameter backups.
Yep.
So yesterday I made an SOP for doing the machine backups, went and found the videos or instructional sheets or whatever, loaded those into into Airtable.
Yep.
And then initially I tried to like load all the files into Airtable, but it's like pretty ungainly. The way Airtable stores attachments, it's just like a flat file, like full of stuff. You don't really know what it is. So, there was so much stuff that it like uploading it was a problem. So what I ended up doing was saving it to our G drive, which is what we use as our base for everything in the shop anyway. That's computer file stuff. And just made a mapped location for all of those where we can go and overwrite them if we need to, or get them if we need to.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Yeah.
That's making me realize I know I backed it up. It's been quite a while, and I don't know where the backup is.
Exactly, right? Like, that's the key.
Yeah.
I've backed it up, too, and then I was like, I have no clue where that file would be.
Like, I'm sure if it went down, I would go find it, but that might take me a day.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Last one on the subject of insulation and heat. We are installing a heat pump today.
That's going to be a big quality of life upgrade.
Yeah. Very excited.
Nice.
Still remains to be seen whether it'll actually like keep up with the size of the space. Got like the largest DIY option we could buy.
Nice.
But we'd gotten a quote from a local company that just seemed, I don't know, I just didn't want to spend $35,000 on a heat pump install right now.
Feels fair.
Yeah. So spending like $7,000 plus paying my people to do the install seemed like a better kind of way to go for right now.
Nice.
And it'll definitely take the edge off. Hopefully in the summer it can take the edge off the hot on the days when it's really
worst
hot.
Case scenario, you spend another $7,000 on a second unit. Is that, or do they start to fight? Do they start to duel?
Oh, I hadn't even thought of that. Probably would be fine.
Right?
They're just thermostats. So
yeah,
I think they would work fine. Yeah, we'd still be ahead by twice.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
Awesome. Well, that about does it.
Yes, indeed. Thanks everybody for listening. You can find me on the internet at likenprecision.com, on Instagram at lichen_MFG, the pod at incremental CI, and the Patreon. Check it out. And you can find me at austere_manufacturing on Instagram and austeremfg.com on the internet. We're actually running our first sale ever. So if you want to check it out, head over to the website. Tra-la-la. Get some nice buckles for slightly less. No, it's like 20% off. So it's significant. Nice.
You can find Arda at www.arda.cards or arda.cards on Instagram. And if you're interested, check it out and drop us a line.
We'll talk to you soon.